Welcome back to the channel, everybody. It's me, Stateside Footy. It's time for the breakdown. In today's first episode of the breakdown, we're going to be taking a look at our kind of Premier League predictions for the season overall. Not so much team 1 through 20. I've already posted that. If you want to go check that out, I'll link it below, or it'll be at the end of the video. But go to my channel, check that out. But obviously stick around and watch this one as well. We're going to talk about flop of the year, team and player. About signing of the year, Golden Glove winner, playmaker of the year, manager of the year, Golden Boot, young player, and player of the year as well. So just stick around, sit back, relax, and let's go ahead. Let's get right into it with our team flop of the year. Starting off with our flop team of the year, we've got Brentford. I just don't see Brentford putting up the same numbers you would expect from them usually. Obviously, Ivan Toney foot out the door already. Looks like he's going to be going to Saudi Arabia. Could see a Premier League team swoop in with maybe a low bid. Depending on if Brentford will sell to them. I think they're kind of leaning towards that Saudi Arabia league now. Saudi Arabia club obviously not wanting to pay the fee that Brentford are asking for, but I think Brentford are going to try to hold out as well as they can. Maybe get around that 50 million mark. I could see for Ivan Toney. The other team that I think that could be that also flop of the year, but this one I think is a lot more expected. I did predict them to go down this year. Nottingham Forest are another choice. If you expected Nottingham Forest to do well, I think they will flop. But, you know, I already had them not doing so well this year, so they can't really be a flop since they're not expected to do well at all anyways. But Brentford, of course, my pick. Honorable mention, Nottingham Forest. Let's talk about players. Flop player of the year, and it's the reigning Premier League player of the year. It's Phil Foden. I think Phil Foden is going to have a flop season. I just don't see him putting up the numbers that he did. I think that the Euros is going to hurt his confidence that he just competed in. I don't see him putting up anywhere near the numbers he did this last year. And I think it's actually going to be a very down year for Phil Foden coming out of the Euros, where his confidence is shot coming out of this Euros. I think Pep will have to rebuild him up a little bit. It'll be interesting to see how he gets integrated back into the squad following the Euros. Obviously, a lot of players have been there the entire time throughout preseason. I don't think he's going to lose his place in the team or anything, but I'm concerned, is he going to put up the numbers that he has previously? Another two shouts for this honorable mentions, I'll say Pedro Neto, just because of his injury history as well as just how many players are at Chelsea. I think it'll be hard for him to break in, especially given his injury history. If he goes down with injuries, I could see it proving difficult for him to get back into the squad. The other player being Max Kilman of West Ham. I don't think he's going to be as good of a signing as maybe I initially thought, and as well as other people have initially thought. Obviously, you know, West Ham, they played their first match this weekend, and I'm not sure that Max Kilman is going to be that guy for them that they had hoped for. Obviously, given the fee, I think the fee is the biggest part of it. $47.5 million. I think he was the most expensive signing for West Ham this summer. I think there's going to be a lot better performers that they signed for cheaper, if that makes sense. And that's kind of why I'm putting him as an honorable mention and not a straight up flop like I am Phil Foden. I think Phil Foden's just not going to have a good season this year. Signing of the summer, he's already got a goal at his new club. Amadou Onana. I think that he's going to have a really, really good season at Aston Villa. Obviously not a like-for-like change with Douglas Luiz, but I still think that third place finish for Aston Villa, I think Onana is going to be instrumental to that as well. I think Premier League proven player, it made sense to sign him, and it makes sense going forward that he's going to be an impact on this Aston Villa side. As for our honorable mention for signing of the summer, I've got to go with Mazraoui for Manchester United. 15 million for him, an unbelievable right back. His performance against Fulham was fantastic. And another honorable mention that we're going to shout out real quick is Dominic Solanke, just because I think he's going to be solid enough to get 20 goals. Other than that, I don't see too much there. Obviously, I'm recording this right after Tottenham played. He didn't score in their opening game, but I think he'll be fine. I think he'll get 20 goals in the Premier League pretty easy, close to 28, 29 in all competitions. I believe they're playing in the Europa League this season. So that's where I'm going with, obviously, Onana, as I mentioned, and honorable mention to Mazraoui and Solanke. Golden Glove winner, we've got our first repeat here, David Raya. Ederson and Alisson are shouts as well. Obviously, there's those top clubs keeping clean sheets. If you're going to ignore top club, if you want to say outside of the big six, I'm going to say Jordan Pickford, just because that Everton defense was actually really solid last year, and I think they've only gotten a better squad, Everton, this summer. So I do think as long as they keep Braithwaite, of course, obviously there was some link to him going to Liverpool I saw today. Yeah, there's no way. I just feel like there's no way Branthwaite goes to Liverpool. That would be very embarrassing if you're an Everton fan. I would sell him anywhere but Liverpool in this case. But that's enough about center backs. David Raya winning the Premier League Golden Glove once again. Playmaker of the Year award, and this is if he can stay healthy. Of course, all these players, if they stay healthy, they're the players that I've got on this list. Kevin De Bruyne, see solid numbers once again, and then of course honorable mentions. You can't forget Trippier. You can't not mention Cole Palmer. You can't not mention Heung-min Son, especially with now another number 9 in Dominic Solanke. I just see that those three will be just behind Kevin De Bruyne, a healthy Kevin De Bruyne, that is. If he ends up having injury problems, I could see it being again like this past season where he ends up around that 10-11 mark, but he just doesn't lead the way. Ollie Watkins obviously winning last year. I don't think Ollie Watkins is putting up the assist numbers he did last year. Just to be quite frank, I think he's another one who you could talk about in that flop of the year candidate if we want to go back to that topic, but we're not going to worry about that. We're not going to go back to it, but Playmaker of the Year award, I've got Kevin De Bruyne pretty easily. Manager of the Year award, obviously I got to go with the man that I've got winning his first Premier League title, Mikel Arteta. Obviously I'm an Arsenal fan. There's a little bias there. I've picked him to win the Premier League title. Spoiler alert, if you haven't seen my Premier League predictions, go watch those. There's still a lot more. There's still 19 other positions. Obviously I mentioned one team already, but 19 other positions outside of Arsenal winning the league that you can go check out there. Or you can even go listen to my reasoning for Arsenal winning the league. But Mikel Arteta, and of course, if Pep wins the league and wins it for a record 5th time in a row, you got to give him the trophy. Another 2 managers, Unai Emery again with Aston Villa is a shout, and then Iraola from Bournemouth. If he can keep them into a top half finish, I could see him being a good shout, especially after the departure of Dominic Solanke. Golden Boot winner, it's not even going to be close. It's going to be Erling Haaland again. I think that Solanke is going to get 20, Watkins is going to get 20, Isak's going to get 20. And there's really not going to be anybody else outside of those 3 competing with Erling Haaland. I think Arsenal are going to have their goals split up once again amongst the team, and that just leaves Haaland to lead the way in goals. Ollie Watkins could be a shout, of course, I mentioned, with 20 goals. And then there's a few other players, Cole Palmer, with all the penalties he's going to take for Chelsea. And he's still, I think, after watching that first game, he's still going to be the main man for Chelsea this upcoming season. Could see Nkunku score a few more goals this season as well, now that he's healthy and hopefully stays healthy during this season. Because I think it would be funny if they don't have an injury excuse when they finish 8th place. Now up next, our Young Player of the Year. And I'm going to start out with a few honorable mentions here. Romeo Lavio and Yankuba Minte will be shouts, but overall performance of their team will shadow their individual brilliance. A team that I think is, again, not going to have a great season, but I think this player is going to be so unbelievable, and he's already so unbelievable. I think he's the youngest of the ones I mentioned. Kobbie Mainoo is just going to win Young Player of the Year award. I just don't think there's anyone else that's going to compete with him for that award. Looking at some of the other top clubs, I don't see anybody else really getting the minutes of a Kobbie Mainoo, and that's exactly why I've got him winning Young Player of the Year award. I think there's maybe a few other players from other clubs. I mentioned Brighton's Yankuba Minte, Chelsea's Romeo Lavio, but nobody else really on that list that makes sense to me for that position. Now we've got our Player of the Year, and you've got quite a few attacking options there. Do I go with Haaland? Do I go with Player Maker of the Year award and Kevin De Bruyne? No, I don't pick any of those. I'm going to go with William Saliba. I think center back wins it. I think if Arsenal are going to win the title, it's going to be because of Saliba's brilliance at the back. And despite having a shaky first game of the season, I think he's going to bounce back with really no issue. And that's my Player of the Year pick for the 24-25 season. Arsenal win the league, as I mentioned, and that's going to be off the back of Saliba's defending. You notice I didn't pick anybody else for awards except David Raya and Mikel Arteta. I don't think anyone's going to outscore Haaland. I don't think anyone's going to out-assist Kevin De Bruyne, although you could make a case for Odegaard or Bukayo Saka or someone like that to pick up the assist. Obviously, Saka's already on 1 assist. Havertz is on 1 assist as well. Both of those also have a goal to their name. A couple players that could also be in the running for Player of the Year. You've got Haaland, you've got De Bruyne, you've got Odegaard, you've got Bukayo Saka, you've got Ollie Watkins. I think it's definitely going to be pretty crucial. You got to look at all of these players. But I think down at the end of the day, it's going to come down again to who wins the title. I think if Arsenal finally get their hands on a title, I think it's going to be either the Odegaard, Saka, or Saliba that I mentioned. I think that based on performances that I've seen in previous seasons. I think Saliba's impact makes him the player of the year candidate for Arsenal. And I've already mentioned in a previous video, go check that out as well. Every Premier League club's best player. There's a few like Dominic Solanke, who I mentioned at Bournemouth, but he left. So that's a little bit interesting, but obviously go check that out. I mentioned Saliba as Arsenal's best player. But anyways, guys, that's it for me. Check out the channel. Check out some of the other videos if you'd like. Leave a like down below. Subscribe so you don't miss another video. We're close to hitting that 100 milestone. Friday, we've got a video coming out. Arsenal versus Aston Villa is on the weekend. And so we're going to be talking about how both teams can prepare for that match and really what to watch and see where the impact is in that match. Obviously, you know, a big matchup early on for both teams, Arsenal and Villa, both of them competing for top four. Arsenal pushing for a title. I don't think Villa is going to be in the title race, but I do think that they will need points here to, you know, push on for top four. And so let me know what you guys think about that match. If there's any keys to that match you think of mentioning or sharing, go ahead and comment down below. And let me know about your predictions down below as well. We can start a dialogue down there in the comment section. But again, I'll see you in the next video. Peace.